This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, we now bring you a discussion on revision of GST rates. The participants are Shishir Sinha, economic analyst, and Ruchika Chitravanshi, journalist.
The Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs has recently clarified some of the rules related to the goods and service tax. A lot of these items that they have clarified about affect daily consumers like you and me, so there must be a lot of queries that one might have about what is the implication of the new GST rules and how will you be impacted. Shishir Sinha, can you tell us a little bit about what is the clarification about and the food items such as cereals, pulses and flour, which the clarification of GST is in reference to? How are the prices going to be impacted?
Hey, if you can remember when GST was introduced, food items, they were exempted from GST. Whether we talk about curd, whether we talk about buttermilk, whether we talk about rice, wheat, and all these kind of food grains. Later, it was said that they are sold as a brand. Brand means a registered brand. So if it is sold as a registered brand, then it will attract GST at the rate of 5%. If it is a branded wheat, rice or something like that, then it will attract GST at the rate of 5%. And of course, curd, buttermilk, these were not part of the GST. They continue to be exempted whether they are sold by a reputed company or by a local retailer. What was happening that many of the companies and many of the businesses, they were trying to take advantage of this loophole. And they were selling the product, collecting taxes, but they were not paying to the government. Now what has happened? In the 47th meeting of GST Council on 28th and 29th June in Chandigarh, they used the word pre-packaged and pre-labeled items will attract GST. This decision has been taken on the basis of recommendations given by a group of ministers. Earlier they were exempted. Now it has been said that pre-packaged, pre-labeled. Now what is the difference? So anything which is pre-packaged will attract GST at a 5%. These include curd, buttermilk, flour, rice, and these kind of food grain items. Now, what is the definition of pre-packaged? According to legal methodology, it says that anything which has not been packed before the consumer in a predetermined quantity, that will be called as a predetermined. So, all these items are attracting GST at the rate of 5%. The problem is that considering the rate of inflation at this moment, any increase will certainly add to the inflation. However, there are two specific conditions which need to be mentioned here. One is that this kind of things will not be implemented on goods which are sold loose and packed before the consumer. Suppose that a retailer is selling flour and it is packing that flour in front of the consumer, that will not attract the GST. If it is selling, say, curd or buttermilk and packing before the consumer, it will not attract the GST. All the pre-packed and pre-labeled, whether the brand is registered or unregistered, that will attract GST.
So you said that traders, retailers were already collecting this tax but not paying it to the government. So if that was happening, how much will this new rule affect the prices of these pre-packaged and labeled items?
If you take the back of envelope calculation, the prices will go up by 5%. Very simple calculations there. So if it is 100 rupees, it will be 105. The only thing is that it is pre-packaged. That means if it has not been packed before the consumer and it is stored in a particular shop and it is being sold as a pre-packaged item, whether there is a brand or there is no brand. So prices will certainly go up. But if the same thing is sold as a loose one, like if you go to a shop and ask for say 2 kg of rice, loose one, so they will give you the rice and they will pack in front of you. That will not affect the GST. The other condition is that this particular rule is meant only for the goods which are up to 25 kg weight. Suppose that there is a single packet of 25 kg, that will attract GST. But if it is a 30 kg pack, that will not attract GST. Another thing is that suppose that if you are buying say 6 packs of 5 kg each, even then you will have to pay GST because there is a single packet, total weight is 30 kg. So these are some of the things which have been clarified in a frequently asked question by Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs.
Why do you think these items which are so consumer centric, as we say, roti kapra makan, the bare essentials for the people, have they been included? And all this mathematics of 25 kg, 30 kg, do you think there'll be a big impact, or we will simply move from selling a 30 kg packet instead of a 25 kg packet?
See, if you go to most of the cities, there are two kind of consumers. One who goes to big retail outlet or a branded retail outlet, but a large section of consumer is there who go to nearby kirana store and buy it in a loose pack. So the basic purpose, basic intention behind this was that many of the organized retailers and also the unorganized retailers, they were collecting taxes, but they were not paying to the government. Like you must have seen, many of flour mills are there in number of locality in Delhi. So what they do, they sell a product which is a pre-packed one, which has a brand, the registered one, also collect GST, but they do not deposit with the government. So this is a move to end this kind of leakage. The second part is GST does not encourage exemption. All over the world, this is the practices that GST have minimal exemption. In India, we have a lot of exemptions. Now that list is being pruned, and of course the casualty is that most of these food grain items and the dairy, now they are part of it.
So as you mentioned that the prepackaged and labeled food items, they derive their definition from the Legal Metrology Act 2009. Can you tell us a little bit about this particular act and how the food items will be covered, and can they be increased, like you said, buttermilk, pulses? So can that definition also widen, and can we as consumers expect this pool to increase further? As you said that we are pruning that list, so does that mean we'll see some reduction, or we could see more items being added to this list?
There are two things. One is the Legal Metrology Act. The other one is the Legal Metrology Rules. So Legal Metrology Rule says that for the retail thing as well as for the wholesale thing, you have to go for the declaration. Since the GST Council has taken a decision for the retail sales, so that is why 25 kg limit has been prescribed, because under the rules, up to 25 kg, it is the retail. Above the 25 kg, it is the wholesale. The only condition is that it should be a single package, not a multiple kind of thing. Like if you go and say 10 kg and 5 kg, that doesn't mean that you are going to be exempted from the GST. So this is the provision under the Act as well as the rule. Now the second part of your question was that whether pruning of list means more and more commodities will be added. Expectation is that more and more goods will be covered under this thing, because GST system all over the world does not encourage exemption. So the list will be pruned and more items are expected to be part of the GST. Like curd, buttermilk, they were not part of the GST, but now they are part of the GST, of course, pre-packaged and the labeled ones. So there are a number of such items which you will see that may be GST in due course of time with certain kind of conditions, so that large number of consumers are not affected.
What is the reason, you think, for the timing of this decision, and how significantly this could impact the revenues of government?
See, the timing is since GST has completed 5 years of its existence, and now there are talks about rationalizing the rates and the exemption. You must be aware that there is a group of ministers under Karnataka Chief Minister Mr. Bommai. That group is going through all these exemptions and the rate rationalization. And in its interim report, they talk more about doing away with the exemptions. In the final report, they will talk about the rationalization of the rates. So timing, of course, it is not a good time to doing away with the exemption or rationalizing the rates, because many of the items, if they are in, say, 12% category, if the rate is fixed as 15%, so automatically the price will go up. So the timing is not good. That is why rationalization has postponed. Decision will be taken on the rationalization after some time. The first step is, of course, the doing away with exemptions, and the timing retail inflation is more than 7%, but I think basic purpose of doing this exercise is to initiate the rationalization and to bring a stability. That's a government line. From a consumer point of view, of course, the consumer will have some kind of impact on his or her budget because of these kind of exercises.
This move of the government to basically levy this GST on pre-packaged and labeled items obviously would encourage the unorganized sector where loose items are being sold. That's one. And the other is the prepackaged industry itself, because now since there is more levy on their products, how do you think both these industries are going to be impacted by this move of the government?
Let us take the first part, which is the packaging industry. There are two developments at this moment. One is the ban of single-use plastic, and the other one is the higher rate of GST on Tetra Packs. So in terms of cost of packaging, it is likely to go up because of these two developments. And of course, packaging industry will go for the alternative materials so that they could provide some kind of what you can say relief to the retailers so that they can sell their product. And many of the shopkeepers have already started doing that. Now, the second part is higher price would be because of these two developments, ban on single-use plastic and higher rate of GST. But what we understand that whether we talk about the shopkeepers or whether we talk about any other entities in the supply chain, they are basically encouraging people to bring their own packets and take the things. That is the only relief kind of thing where they will not have to pay the GST. But as I told you that there are two kind of shoppers, one who go to upmarket shops or the organized shops, their prices will be higher. And if they are buying in a loose kind of situation, then the prices will not be affected in that manner.
If we talk of the implementation, when do these rules come into effect? And when we go to buy our groceries in the shop, how will this work? Because the goods are already packaged, the price is already written on them. So how will it work on those items?
The higher rates have already come into effect, or the new rate, I would say, from July 18. Now there is one provision which was announced in 2017 when GST was introduced, and it was said that if a particular package is getting affected because of the change in the GST, they will just have to place a slip on that or a sticker on the price level, and that can show the change in the pricing. That was the arrangement which was announced in 2017, and that will take place in 2022 also when there is the introduction of GST on these kind of food grain items or the dairy products. The other thing is, of course, when you go to shop, and you must have noticed that already the buttermilk and the curd which are from the organized sector, the prices have gone up. Many of the food grain prices which are in a pre-pack, their prices have also increased. But branded ones, there is no change in the price of branded ones because the GST was already there except the dairy products. All the food grain items which were the branded, there is no change in that. But for the unbranded or unregistered, the prices have gone up.
How has the trade bodies, how have the retailers taken to this declaration?
See, GST says that any business having a turnover of 40 lakh and above in terms of goods and 20 lakh or above in terms of services, they need to go for the mandatory registration. Now, at this moment, what is happening that many of the shopkeepers, many of the retailers are voluntarily going for a GST registration, even if their turnover is less than 40 lakh rupees or 20 lakh rupees in terms of goods and services respectively. Of course, there will be issues in terms of, say, relationship with the buyer. That will certainly be affected because buyers will complain that why you are charging higher price. The compliance will not change. They will continue to do so. If it is less than 40 lakh rupees, they are not supposed to take the GST from the consumer. And they're also not supposed to issue any invoice, and they're also not supposed to file the forms. If they are a composition dealer, then they will have to fill the return once in 3 months and pay the tax at a fixed rate, 1%, 2%, and 5%. But if they are a registered one, they will have to pay. This is one part from the compliance point of view. And from the relationship point of view, of course, there will be some kind of, you can say, a buyer will always say, why you are charging this much? But that's something which will happen in any case.
It may be time for a lot of us to redraw our household budgets and see how much money we want to allocate to what item now. The clarifications, the FAQs that have been issued by CBIC do provide a much clearer picture, as did you, Shishir Sinha, for clarifying all the things that have happened since Sunday on this particular matter. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us all the thoughts and perspective on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are listening to a discussion on revision of GST rates. The participants were Shishir Sinha, economic analyst, and Ruchika Chitravanshi, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.